Writing is as easy as Act 1, 2, and 3. Welcome to Jenn's Writing World. If you have a story to tell, you are in the right place. Let's do it 10 minutes at a time. All right, well, today's trick that I want to talk about is for pantsers. I am a true pantser, as in I don't outline at all. I just start at the beginning and go to the end. This can also work for people who outline, because the honest truth is I kind of consider my first draft as an outline. It just sometimes has 60,000 words. So what is my trick for today? It's very simple. If you are using the 3-act format, which is how a lot of books are divided into, you have Act 1, which is your intro. It leads you up to the exciting incident, the moment when the character decides, whether he wants to or not, that he is going to and continue along the story. If you don't have that, well, your story kind of dies. And then you have Act 2, which is the middle. It is the bulk of the book. It has highs and lows and horrible things happen until you get to the end of Act 2, which is kind of the point of despair, where it looks like there will never be success for the main character. And then you move into Act 3, which is also very small. Sometimes it's the same length as Act 1, sometimes it's not. And then your character gets its rise, the climax, the conclusion. All right, so we know about 3 acts. There are lots of books written on all of the nuances of writing a 3 acts, and maybe I'll put some of those down below on my bookshelf. But here's what I want to talk about today. How is it that whether I'm writing 1,000 words of flash fiction or 80,000 words of a novel, how do I know where I'm at so that I don't write too many words? I use the 3-act system, and it goes like this. When I am in Act 1, I'm only thinking about Act 1. Now, let's say, for example, the book I'm writing on is 12,000 words. If I run on the theory that Act 1 is 25% of my story, and Act 2 is 50% of my story, and Act 3 is 25% of my story, and that's probably a little large for Act 1 and 3, but it is an origin story, so my Act 1 may be a little bit longer than a normal Act 1. However, I'm establishing it. 25% of my book is going to be Act 1. That is 3,000 words, and that is what I focus on. I don't write 12,000 words. I write 3,000 words. And I know that in those 3,000 words, I have to get from the opening sentence to the end of Act 1, to that exciting incident in which they are propelled forward into Act 2. And that's all I write. 3,000 words. I know, as I pace myself along, when I get to 3,000 words, that's the end of Act 1. Now, do I do this perfectly? No, I've had to practice. But you know what? I'm pretty good at it. And you can be good at it too. Just don't think about the whole book in your mind. Think about the act you are in. Okay, so now you're in Act 2. Again, I said, let's make it 50% of the book. Okay, so that's going to be 6,000 words. If you kind of figure out how many highs and lows you're going to have, which you may not know if you're pantsing it like I do, but you start writing. If you're 2,000 of the 6,000 words in of Act 2 and you haven't had an ebb or a flow, well, you know that you need to make some changes. And you do this simply because you don't think about Act 1 or Act 3. You just focus on Act 2. You focus on what has to go into Act 2, what makes sure that Act 2 doesn't die in the middle, and all those kind of things. But that's all you're focusing on. And then you have your ebbs and your flows, and you have your darkest moment, end of Act 2. And now all you have to do is write 3,000 more words for Act 3. You don't have to write 10. You don't have to wonder. But here's the other thing also. If you're not there yet, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much left to tell, well, guess what? You only got 3,000 words left in your 12,000 word book. You got to do one of two things. Either make your book longer, which depending on the genre you're writing may or may not be possible. If you're an indie writer, do whatever you want. Or you need to cut. And I want to reiterate, and we'll talk about this on another day, cutting is never bad. All books can use cutting. So at that point, you make your decisions. Is there a subplot you don't use? Is it possible that you have too many characters? And now, if you want to just keep going and get to 17,000, 18,000 words and finish up your book, you can do that. But my system of focusing on the act you're in and knowing your word count for each act is going to save you a ton of time and headache when you get to the second draft. Because while I agree that every book can use cutting, if you only have to cut a few hundred words and you only have to fix, the words that you needed instead of cutting thousands of words and maybe trying to figure out which of those words need to be fixed, yeah, you're going to edit faster, you're going to get the book out faster, and it's going to be more coherent because you will have known that you stuck to the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and you have a book that is readable. So that's my tip for today. When you're writing your book, don't think about the entire book, just think about the act you're in. Figure out what percentage you want that to be, figure out what your word count is, and then all you got to worry about is where you are right there and how far you have to go to finish the act. And there's no need to think about anything else. And when you get done, you'll have the right number of words and you'll have a complete story. Why don't we go get to writing so that we can get the right number of words and we can complete our stories too? All right. Well, I thought the incline worked pretty well yesterday. We're going to try it again today. So we won't talk quite as much because I really do want to get to the writing. I'm at such a good spot. So I'm going to say, here is 10 minutes. When you hear it ding, you'll know your 10 minutes has ended. Let's get writing. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, time is up. Phew, well, we've hit a conundrum, and I don't have an answer for it yet. And what I find is when I don't know the answer to a plot point, I just keep having the characters talk, and eventually they find the answer themselves. So a lot of this probably be cut in the second draft, but right now I'm having a lot of fun trying to figure out how to open a door that doesn't exist. All right, well, I hope you got lots of words written today. I had a very productive day. The sun is shining and it was a lot of fun to write the section that I'm on. All right. If you did have a good writing day, I hope that you will join me the next time. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the little bell, and you'll know every time I put a new video out. If you got lots of words done, I'd love to know in the comments how many words you get done in a writing session. It varies for everybody else. I always range around 400. That's my goal for every day, and I hit it most days. If you hit it, I'd love a like. Always appreciated, and I do hope that you're sharing the channel with your friends so that we can all get the words on the page. All right, here is today's quote. It is by James Scott Bell. He is a thriller writer who also writes some of my favorite writing books, and this is what he said. I am not telling you to stop pantsing your way through a manuscript. I am telling you that at some point you have to face structure, because if you don't, you're going to end up with a novel that doesn't sell, except by accident. As a pure pantser, I can sort of say, ooh, ouch. However, as I was just explaining, even though I am a pure pantser, I try to have structure in my stories because I want to sell my stories and not just by accident. So long from Jenn's writing world, and until next time, write, write, write.